Welcome, everybody, to this Peer Spirit teleconference. Today is June 16th, 2020. My name's Topsoil, and the call today is Summer Solstice Reflections. And thank you guys for being here. We are recording this call so people who couldn't be here in person can listen later. So to help keep the line quiet, please use your phone's mute button or the conference line. You can press *6 to mute your line and *6 to unmute your line, and that helps the line stay quiet so people can hear what's going on. We'll be using a talking stick for sharing. So the purpose of that is to really allow listening for what people are saying, and be sure to let people know when you're sharing, when you're done sharing. Say, I'm putting down the stick, or I'm done, I'm finished, something like that, so people know that the space is free for the next person to pick up the stick to share. What I'd like to do is we'll do a check-in, and then we'll invoke the circle. And once we're in the circle, I want to read some questions, sort of in a meditative, contemplative kind of way, talk a little bit about the metaphor of solstice, and then we can just open for discussion and sharing after that. And and then, right before, we'll close the circle and end with thanks and a blessing before the hour is up. So that's the roadmap. And again, thank you for joining. And if we're all ready, I'd say let's start check-in. And it can be a really brief check-in, just where you're at and something about your day to help you be whatever to be present on the call, so that you can be present on the call. So I'll start. My name's Topsoil. I'm in San Francisco, and I'm sitting in my living room, and there's a nice cool breeze coming in through the window. That's me.
Well, I'll go ahead and go then. My name is Tiffany Tabor. I'm in Murphy, North Carolina, and I am currently downstairs in my living area looking outside as the sun's starting to go down. That's me.
Okay, this is Sue, and I am in Nebraska, out by Lake McConaughey. My friend Sabrina and I each wanted to get away and from lockdown, and we met halfway between Denver and where I live. And so we're just enjoying a nice, peaceful time out on the prairie near a beautiful lake area, and that's me putting down the stick.
I am Sabrina Sims. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I can wait. Sue has already spoken for me. I'm Sabrina Sims, and I am here at Lake McConaughey with Sue. We're just hanging out, getting the break from lockdown. That's it.
My name is Lynn, and I am from Portland, Oregon. I'm sheltering with my daughter and her husband in North Carolina, and I am in my bedroom where it's quiet and private.
This is Sally. I'm in Weaverville, North Carolina, and I'm sharing a room with my little puppy because he doesn't get the whole house at this point. And I'm looking out the windows at my garden and the beautiful mountains. I'm done.
Thomas Ayers here in Larchmont, New York, and I'm awake and ready.
Oops, I was muted. Great. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, I'm glad that we're all on the call together. So let's begin bringing our attention and our energies towards creating a circle. I'd like to invite us to start by finding our heart centers and opening to the divine through our hearts, to divine love. Just letting that connection happen however it does, to whatever degree it does. And letting your breath move in and out. Lungs filling and emptying. As you find this resonance, this beginning or deep connection, however it occurs, to the love of the divine. Great. And then I'd like to invite you to bring your awareness to your Hara center. It's in the middle of the body, a couple finger widths below the navel. And there, connecting deep into the earth, deep into all of creation. Perhaps finding a line of light or energy running down from your Hara down into the earth. And energy running up from the earth into your Hara. And continuing up into your heart. And from the heart down through the Hara, down into the earth. Flowing up and down. Connecting us with the ground, with the earth. With all of creation. Good. And bringing awareness to the head center, energy center in the middle of our heads. And from there, connecting to divine source, divine wisdom, the soul of the sun, our higher selves, the center of the cosmos, whatever image or words, however you connect with that reality. Like there's a line of light going up from your head center up into the center of the sun or the center of cosmos or to divine source, and a line of light coming back down into the head center. And connecting from the head center to the heart center. And from the heart center back to the head center. So there's an energy flow above and below. Above and back to our hearts. And connecting those so it goes from above to below and from below to above. Earth through our energy centers up to source. And from source down through our energy centers into the earth. All those energies mixing in our hearts. Good. And then from those three energy centers, perhaps just the heart, whatever feels appropriate, bring a focus of light into a flame at the center of our circle, connecting like spokes of a wheel. The divine also reflected in this flame, connecting us into the circle, and also allow a line of light to go around the outside to whoever's virtually next to you in the circle, the people on both sides, connecting around the circle with light and love. Like the rim of the circle. And from this place, let us set our intentions. If it feels appropriate to offer and receive from the truth and wholeness of who we really are. With these words, we listen to one another with compassion and curiosity. We ask for what we need and what we can offer. We deepen our connection with one another and the divine. May this time together serve us, our communities, and all that is. And so it is. Right. Yeah. So as I was thinking about this call, I started thinking that we're getting very close to the summer solstice. So it seemed like a good time to use that metaphor to reflect on what's happening around us, what's happening within us. Over the spring, life starts coming back into the world in stronger ways after the winter. The days start getting longer. Trees start to bud out in the leaf. Gardens get planted. And the plants grow. The days, generally speaking, get warmer. All of this, of course, in the Northern Hemisphere, that's where we all are. And now we're almost at the longest day. Things will continue to grow through the summer. That initial growth is established. In my garden plot, after I planted seeds, there were all these other seeds from all these other plants that had been in that garden plot before, and all of it just sprouted like crazy. And I had to do a lot of winnowing and deciding what to keep. And equally, it seems like there's been so much going on this spring, so far this year. Everything from the SARS-2 pandemic, the corona or COVID-19 disease, and recently all the protests and the Black Lives Matter movement, and so many more things, global and countrywide and statewide and within our families and within our own lives. So I'd like to ask these questions for consideration. Then at the end of the questions, I'll hold a silent period of a minute or so, and then I'll open the floor. I'll put down the stick and open the floor for sharing. But I'll leave a silent period after the question, so just so that's not confusing when we get there. So what has been growing? What was planted? What sprouted on its own? What does that tell us about ourselves, each other, and the world? What do we want to focus on next? What comes next? Is there weeding or thinning to do? Is there any fertilizer to add? What is growing strongly and looks like it will produce good fruit? What isn't? Is there anything that's growing too fast? And what would that indicate? Is there anything that seems to be growing too slow? And what might that indicate? What is the energy really high around? What does that bring up in me? What does that show me that I might be needing? And how do I take care of myself in this time? What needs additional love and or attention? Is there anything to be taking attention away from? Who is life showing me that I am right now? What are my contributions? What's called for from me? What can I support? What am I part of? How am I whole with what's going on around me? And what's next for me? Great. Thank you for considering those questions. So I'm about to put down the stick and open the floor for sharing. And I invite you to focus your sharing about yourself, your experience, your growth. Right? So I'm putting down the stick.
This is Sue. I will pick up the stick. In terms of, thinking in terms of fall, winter, spring, where fall and winter are quiet and, time for sleep, time to plan, that sort of thing. And spring brings about planting and looking towards the summer. My fall has been about 2 or 2.5 years long, involving a move and cross country and my mother and retirement, a lot of change and a lot of clearing. Now that my spring has come, there's been a lot of clearing, ideas, growth in terms of learning to be retired, not having a job, being overwhelmed with all my stuff and my mother's stuff, living in her home, and plans I have with my 2 board members. And I think finally, the planting has started and things have been cleared, ideas have been cleared, old ways of being have been cleared. And now there are going to be new ways of being, letting go of my mother's stuff, learning to work at home, learning to work with these 2 wonderful board members that I have. And so what's coming, I'm not sure, but I have high hopes and vision. And these 2 ladies share the vision and they have their own vision. So the 3 of us are coming together in a way that they need to speak for themselves. But that's where I'm at. I feel good. I feel refreshed. I feel clear about what is being planted, and I'm excited to see what grows, what comes up. There's still more weeding to be done, I'm sure, and more clearing to be done, both mentally, emotionally, physically, but it is happening. And I put down the stick.
Topsoil here. I'll pick up the stick. Thank you, Sue. I just wanted to add, I meant to add this earlier, I just wanted to invite everybody to listen from their heart space and stay connected with the flame and the above and the below as we're listening, and also maybe to allow a few breaths after each person speaks to really just let their words be received. So just if we could have a practice of having the time for 3 breaths after people speak. I know I jumped in to add this, but perhaps we'll be able to have that as part of our sharing. So I'm putting down the stick. I realized I have sharing too, so I'll pick back up the stick. A lot of what's been alive for me lately is like working with deeper levels of acceptance, and bringing attention to slowing down and having more compassion for myself, less pushing to get somewhere or to be something. I think those patterns have been pretty strong most of my life to some degree or other, and it seems like in the last few, I think in the last few months, there's been more awareness around that and more ability to soften rather than push. And I see that continuing. I suppose that to some degree that's a lifelong practice. But that's been really alive for me lately. One other thing that I've been thinking a lot about is all of this analysis about white privilege and about how institutional racism and how opportunities and power and monetary well-being seems, and I believe it, have been kept from a lot of people of color in this country and really around the world. It seems like that really all seems true, and to it's not dawning on me now. I've been listening to people speak about this for years, but there's so much being said now, and with such passion and such depth. It's been inspiring me to look more deeply, and my personal thought is that like as within, so without, by doing spiritual work and taking care of my own self, where I see, my own self. That sounds a little small, but if I'm bringing compassion to myself, that's going to help me bring compassion to others as well. And that seemed like a good approach, but I wonder, is there more? And so I'm drawn to start reading more books and doing more in the world to investigate and see what I can take responsibility for becoming. I'll say it that way. So that's me. I'll put down the stick.
I'll pick up the stick. This is Lynn. And for me, the biggest thing was my husband passed away a little bit over a year ago. And this time has been what I would label bittersweet. It has been filled with incredible grace and amazing gifts from love and support from other people, and an intensity of grief and sadness that at times is like a tsunami, and it knocks me right over. The gifts that have come from that, the two that I actually would not have even thought were possible. One is trust, in seeing how I had really made my husband my everything and my source of things, and realizing that God really is my source, and it comes through many people. And so I have learned to trust in a much deeper way just my journey and the support and love that's out there for me. And also more self-compassion, I, as a spiritual person, have had a fair amount of judgment over my grieving process and learning to honor it and go with the flow of it. What I see in the world is, and the energy that I hold is unity, and I see forward that started with the Me Too movement, and now the Black Lives Matter, where I see police taking a knee, and all of these in every state, people are marching for unity. I also see the darker side, the people that are still being killed by the police, and my heart is saddened by that. But I think on the other side of this, we will be more united to make sure that I am in no way contributing to the challenges that we're having with our division. I'm taking an 8-week unpacking whiteness and seeing race, which I'm just in my second week, and it is informative and enlightening for me, just the history of how racism even started. And I'm grateful for the class that moving the things I'm doing is I'm writing a book called Hearts and Balloons from Heaven, and this comes from my husband who, when he passed, had cancer for 4 years, that he would let me know that he loved me, he was with me, 2 hearts and balloons, and I have taken pictures, about 500. He sent a heart after he passed to my kids went walk along a trail in the woods, a narrow trail. He sent a white star balloon that landed in front of them and stayed on my ceiling for 92 days. Anyway, a long story too. So for me, just continue taking many classes, continuing to clear anything in me that is still to feel separate, and spend time imagining possible as we come out the other side of this year. I put down the stick.
This is Sally. I'm picking up the stick. And during this time, I've experienced more intensely than usual what emotional empath I am. And there's a lot of times where I need to just take quiet time and private time to kind of clear and reconnect with myself, my emotion, and separate out what is me and what is it that I'm just picking up from the incredible grief and fear and anger and other intense emotions that seem to kind of wave over me during these intense, turbulent times. One of the choices I made to start the spring was to get a puppy. That I was born in the spring, and it's nice to have another little baby boy here who actually was born the end of January. But I made a conscious choice to give myself something that makes me happy and joyful. And that has been a real wonderful balance for this time, where there can be such fear and pain that gets brought up on really a daily basis. I also made a choice to start a victory garden with my cousin's husband, who's been gardening for years and lives nearby. And that's been a wonderful experience to prepare the soil and plant the seeds. And now we're starting to harvest different things. And really I find that for me, my greatest source of nurturing and balance and connection to source is to be in nature and to be gardening, like on my property, or going hiking in the woods and things. And North Carolina is amazing for that, because there is such an incredible biodiversity, and the life force is very, very strong. So that's been one of the things that I've used to kind of clear, because I find that I can get very overwhelmed as I see what is going on in the world, and the imbalances that seem to be more and more extreme. And I need to keep reminding myself that there is a greater force than myself that has a consciousness that holds all of this and is allowing all of this to evolve, and to surrender into that with the knowledge and faith that all is good and that it is happening in a field of love. And that's where I'd like to leave off. So I'm putting down the stick.
Hi, this is Tiffany. I'm going to pick up the stick. Since we're in North Carolina, I'm going to stick with it. Just continue the North Carolina trend. I have to say it's one of the most beautiful places, and being that I've had the privilege of growing up in Southern California and then again in Colorado and coming here, it just feels like life just keeps offering me all these wonderful graces. When it comes to my seasons, there are times when I've hit all 4 seasons in one day. And there are times when I feel like I'm never going to get out of weeding the garden. And I just want summer to come some days. And, you know, we're here now, and I'm on this board, and I've got two wonderful people that I'm working with on that. And again, to reiterate, the visions are incredible, and I feel like this is, well, I know this is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I was born into. And I needed to see other things so that I could come back into this and complete my vision and complete my garden. And it's such a journey, and I'm still not settled as to where I'm going to actually be. We're thinking about going to the coast, to Wilmington, and I feel like that'll be a good move for various reasons. But I also look around at so many of the things that are happening and so many of the purges, and knowing that all of these issues have been there and have been underlying, and it's like the boiling point. They have to come out. We have to weed the garden. We have to see what's underneath the soil, and we have to decide what stays and what goes, and it's time. It's time for the whole world, but especially this country, especially even now in where I live and in this group and in this tiny little mountain town where I live. We had a peaceful protest recently, and it was exemplary, and the police were up there speaking, and it just went beautifully, and so many people were frightened that there was going to be riots and violence, and I had faith in that, and I realized that it's okay to purge, and it has to happen, and there has to be equality. There has to be, the pendulum is going to swing, and that's what it's doing. And so I'm hoping to get to those other seasons again, to get back to fall and to have the rest of winter. But I'm okay with right now with the weeding and the things that are going on, and can't wait to get to the summer part again, like I said. But I've been really just through a lot. And I have to say there were times when I didn't know who I was, trying to differentiate myself between my mother and my grandmother and myself. And it's like I didn't even know what I liked in terms of furniture and taste, because I inherited everything. And so it's this rediscovery and replanting those seeds and going forth with the things that were important and that need to be there, and incorporating the new vibrations. And I'm just thankful to have that opportunity, and I'm thankful for being asked to be on the board and working with these people to get this vibration going again, and hopefully just spreading that outwardly. And it's one thing to pray and to meditate and to see this world in peace and all of its opportunity. And I remember my mother would say, Tiffany, all is in divine order. And you have to remember that. And my father would reiterate it with, the pendulum has to swing. And I know we're there. And so I'm trying to maintain that balance of divine order and a swinging pendulum, and I think we all are. But I think we have this. And I think things are happening seem bad, but I know they're good. And I feel like my life is following suit with that. One day we'll get to rest and move forward with all the things and all the visions that myself and these other two wonderful people that we want to partake in and move forward with, and start with the healing process. So I'm putting down the stick now.
I'll just pick up the stick with the facilitator's hat. We have about 5 more minutes for sharing. And then, of course, put down the stick again. So picking up the stick again, silence is really lovely, but I think it's time for us to begin moving towards the end of the call. I'd like to just ask you to consider, to bring your attention to what it's been like to listen to everyone share and to be present in the circle. Just notice how that's touched you, who you've been in the face of that, who you might be inspired to become, what it's been like to be received for your energy, for your presence, for your words in the circle. And what have you noticed about yourself or about anything through the questions through the listening, through the sharing. And what is there to do about that, if anything? Good. And so bringing our awareness back to the energy setup we did with our lines of light going into the center of the circle, our lines of light going above and below, through our head, heart, and hara. Let us begin to allow the lines of light going into the center and around the edge to dissolve. And we can take a breath in, inhale everything that we want to take with us, that's ours to take with us from the circle. And exhale everything that stays in the circle that won't be going with us. Great. Thank you. So let's do a brief one-word checkout. Maybe it's 2 words, but 1 word, like a quality, something that's alive with you now as we're checking out, and then we will close with a final thanks and blessing. So final checkout. I feel energized, happy. That's me.
Thomas here. I would offer gratitude. I'm complete.
Sue here, full of gratitude.
Tiffany here. Thankful. I am thankful.
Lynn here, gratitude and grace.
Sally here. Sense of oneness. Thank you.
Sabrina here, appreciation.
Great. Thank you for the checkout. I want to say these calls are hosted by Tzaddi, an inter-spiritual metaphysical organization founded in California in 1964. Tzaddi welcomes, nurtures, and supports people in celebrating the divine and more directly experiencing their relationship with the loving presence of the divine. Our programs are open to people of any race, color, gender identity, sexual orientation, national or ethnic origin. Our website is tzaddi.org. Feel free to check it out there. The next 2 months, there won't be Spirit Gathering. Spirit Gathering has been taking a hiatus for the summer lately. So it'll be back in the fall. Watch for the Punch Bowl invitations. The Being Together calls that happen on the first Wednesdays, those I think will be continuing every month through the summer and into the fall. Watch for the invitations for those too. They come through Punch Bowl as well. And so now I'd like to bring us closer to a close with thanks to the Tzaddi founders, Amy Keyes and Dorothy Blackmere. Thanks also to all who've been part of this community tonight and to all those who've been part of Tzaddi over time and will be in the future. And thanks also to the divine who supports us even when we're not aware of it. Is there anybody who feels drawn to offer a blessing to close the call?
This is Sue Topsoil. I can do that if you'd like.
If you feel drawn, that'd be lovely.
Yes, I do. I like doing this. All right. So let's just take a moment and ask our family of Divine Light for a blessing on all of the people that are on this call and those that may listen later. We ask for a blessing on our founding bishops, Bishop Amy and Bishop Dorothy, and a blessing for our current bishop and his board for all that they do for this organization to make it possible for us to be together like this. And we give thanks. As Bishop Topsoil said, we give thanks. And I'd like to offer this prayer that Bishop Amy used to offer. We affirm that the light of God surrounds us and the love of God enfolds us and the power of God protects us.
The presence of God
and the wisdom of God guides us. Wherever we are, God is, for God is everywhere. So be it. And so I'm putting down the stick.
Thank you, Sue. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for being here. Many blessings. Be well. Until next time. Good night.
Good night, and peace be with all of you.